He starts out by saying Be'inyan Tzitzias v'Kriya Shema. So regardless of these two things, he says they go together. V'Shneihem U'Kusharim Yachad. So I'm going to read a little bit across the top here, and then go to the next piece, which I think is rich. So let's go over to this. Be'inyan Tzitzis v'Kriya Shema. V'Shneihem U'Kusharim Yachad. So he said, "V'tzrichen ana b'var tequila inyan the mochen dezah." But before we get into that, I want to make sure that you understand the mochen that come into Zeranpin Kadesh Russian, so you can understand what's going on in the Drushot that we're going to go get to now. So he says, "If you name this bar Leno," so it's been explained by us. Ki b'Zeranpin yesh mochen mitzad Abba. He has mochen from the side of Abba, a mochen mitzad Ima. The mitzad Abba boim beluvashim. They come into Zeranpin. I'll just use that to say boim means come to Zeranpin. Luvashim betoken, that's a hod yisod the Abba. So the mochin that belong to Zeranpin that are eventually going to build Zeranpin are actually inside of the nai of Abba. But mochin the mitzad Ima, then they're mochin on the side of Ima, but boim beluvashim betoken, and that's a hod yisod the Ima. So they're in the nai of Ima. That's a chod yisod the Abba. And then after that, now he's making it sound sequential, so I'm not really getting into this too much. But he's making it sound that first you have the hislavshus of Ima, then you have the hislavshus of Abba. It's what sounds like that, and Ima is already existing. So he's in the lavshus of and that's a chod yisod the Abba toch hamochim atzman the b'tzad Ima, so that the mochin of Abba actually mislavish inside of the mochin of Ima. So all of these different so all of them are inside of Zeranpin. So he says like this: the Mochin that go to Abba Nikwaim Chachmah Bina v'Chesed Gevura. That's their name. That was Chesed the Das and Gevura the Das. V'chein the Mochin shall Iba Nikwaim Gam Kain Kach. They have the same word. So you have the same four sets of Mochin. So from them, they're going the mochim into zah. So with these two nais that have all these mochim inside of them. Because from the four mochim of Abba, nimshachim arba mochim al zeranpin, so those mochim come into zeranpin. Meluvashim toch netzachod yisod the Abba, but the mochim themselves are clothed. They're inside of netzachod yisod the Abba. So keeping going on here, and he says like this: Amnam yesh chiluk. Bring this down. Amnam yesh chiluk between the mochin, the Abba, the mochin, the Ima, but there's a difference between these two sets of mochin. Now this part I might want to look a little bit more and see if it helps me. He said, "Ki mochin the Abba came kula b'bechin the shema shel chavayos b'miluim." The Maluyum. So he says they're all actually Havayas. But the Ima him Shemus the Akia the Maluyum. So let's see number Kaf Gimel down below. He says like this: Akia Shkilat ben Shemus Amokum shel Abba the ben Shemus Amokum shel Ima. So he says next one. He says Ki Kol Arba Shemus Amokum shebetzad Abba came Shema shel Havaya. V'lechol Muach shel Abba. So each one of them has a different name. So the Asmab would be in the four different names, as it sounds like. Now he said number Kaf Hey, he said those four. Shukal Arba Shemus and Mochin Betzad Iba came Shemus Akia. They're Akias. So he says, so then when you're looking at this and you see that the mochin on the side of Ima, if you could look at it, and then the shinu is taken, which would be kasa kasa kamakana. So that there would all be these different names if they appear in their milui. Let's go to the next one, and we have still 5 minutes. So I didn't really look at this too carefully, but I saw enough to see that it's starting to get into some things we need to know. Anta eskino hu babir prati amochin the chachma bina the Abba be'ima. Now let's look at it more carefully. He says v'gam rak b'mochin the katnas, and also what's pshat over here in the mochin the katnas. So the Rav writes, he says, so that let's not think here that what we're talking about now, there's only Ela b'Chachma Bina Bilvad the Abba o the Ima, that there's only a Chachma and Bina, that's all there is of Abba the Ima. Now we're going to explain the other two mochim, Hanikroim Chesed V'Vura, the Abba o the Ima. The Gamda also know this. Ki ein ana medabrim ato ela b'mochen the shisha kitzvos haniknasa b'zecha be'ez kriya shema. So let's talk what we're talking about. So all of this is we're only talking about what the mochen of the book of Ima that comes into Zer Anpin haniknasa b'zecha be'ez kriya shema. Yachar kach b'zman the godless, because then at the time of a real godless yordim elu hamochen b'chesed b'vur teferes desah, then those come in. Boim lo mochin b'cherem, then other mochin come in b'chachma b'bin the dashalo k'b'vukar b'sham. It's read over there. It's explained over there. In the kriya shema b'zochar b'al tishkach in yinzeh. So remember this. Don't forget it. He says. Now let's see exactly what did he say. I don't really understand 100%. Number Kaf Zion is where this starts down at the bottom, or actually it's up at the top, and he says like this. He says, that what we learned over here, that the four mochin of Abba, Haim Shemo Shal Chavaya, that's what we said, Bishinu and Miluehem. So the difference between them is they're each one is part of the Asma. The Iber of Haim Shemo Shal Ekia, Bishinu and Miluehem, which is Kasa Kasa Kamen Kana. Ein Hagavanan Lomach Shemochim Shal Chachma, Hu Chavaya, V'Amochim Shal Ima, Hu Ekia. So he said, wait a minute. That we're not trying to say that the mochin of Abba are Havayas and the mochin of Bima are Ekiyas. But what he's trying to say is this. Now, what does that mean? That the moach of Chachma changes according to the parts of that's in it. Let's say we're talking about the moach that's coming from Abba, or moach Chachma the Ima. And also the different parts of these mochim of that moach, they change, their miluyim change. Also in Bina, so he's just looking at Abba by himself, he's looking at Bina by herself. So when we talk about these four mochim, kind of Chachma, Bina, Chasana, B'Dadas, Gevurah, Dadas, and we're talking what about these mochin which are in what the Chachma, the Chachma of Abba. Thinking what? Abba has 10 spheros. One of the spheros is his Chachma. Let's see if I got it right. So there's also Bina in Abba. They're also Chabayas, or their Chabayas would change in their Mimuim. Let's look at the Ima Dika, the Chochman Ima. So there's where you find the difference. Now I have to read it again because I wasn't prepared for this. So I'm going to go back to the word v'chein. V'chein ba'arbech b'mochim. The Hainu Chachma Bina Chasad the Das of Gevurah the Das shall Bina Shemitzad Abba. In other words, the Bina of Abba. He's going to look for Haim Mochim Shalabayas. They're going to be, because they're on the Abba side, they're going to be Mochim Shalavai B'Shinu and Mulechem. V'chein Arbech b'Mochim Shal Chachma Shemitzad Ima. Ima also has a Chachma. So he says, or the Mochim there is of Arbech b'Mochim Shal B'Bina Shemitzad Ima. Haim Shemus Gal Akia B'Shinu and Mulechem. That's where you find that. We'll stop here and we'll look at it some more. This is probably important for understanding Drushot and lots of other things. Thank you for learning with me today, Kartov.